So I tried to do this video outside because I thought it would be exciting and different than me sitting here on camera. But we had snow and sleet last night, and the wind right now is biblical. It's ripping out there. So I tried to do the recording, and it didn't work quite so well. So I'm inside the safety of the van. A little tip for you, always wear your 18% gray jacket, because that way if someone has to take a meter reading off of your body, they're going to be spot on. Elena Dorfman came into town, and we thought it was a good idea to have a little conversation about our upcoming workshop in Albania, as well as a little conversation about workshops in general, what to expect, what's considered success during a workshop. And I also wanted you to hear a little bit about her personal connection to the country, which I think is an underlying theme of finding a place or a subject matter or a story that you have a personal interest in, or in Elena's case, a personal family history connection to. Always gives you a nice foundation from which to build your project from. So let's have a look and a listen. Just know that I'm going to post an excerpt here on YouTube, and the full interview will be posted on my SoundCloud channel, so you are covered from all angles. I appreciate it, and I'll be back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. And we are very fortunate today to have a repeat customer, a friend who's revisited the town, Elena Dorfman. How you doing today?
Hey, Dan. Doing well.
And Elena was in town, and I thought it would be a really good opportunity for us to actually talk together about a little thing that we have coming up, which is a workshop in the spring of 2022 in Albania and beyond, because potentially this is going to be something that we end up doing more than once. And so what we've done is I've come up with a list of questions that I want to ask her, and vice versa. So we are going to just jump right in and start talking about the workshop that we're going to teach, but it's more than that. It's about sort of the ideology behind how something like this would come together, and also what to expect, and also how to kind of look at a workshop in ways that you may not first think about on the surface. So with that in mind, how about a first question? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're totally ready?
Hit me.
Do a test 1, 2, 3 for me.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
That. Yeah, I just wanted to have that in the recording at some point. So, okay, let's go back to 2019, which is the year that I went to Albania to take your workshop. But before I got there, when I decided to take the workshop, I started telling people, or people would find out that I was about to go on vacation, and they would say, "Hey, what are you doing on your vacation?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to go to Albania and take a workshop." And the response was actually absolutely bizarre. I had people ask me where in South America Albania was. I had people ask why I wanted to go to Russia. And it was kind of somewhat of a surprise in America to have that. But I live in New Mexico, where a lot of people don't seem to understand it's part of the United States. So it wasn't that uncommon. But how on earth did you find Albania? How did this whole thing come to be? Before you even began remotely thinking about teaching workshops over there, you have a very specific connection to this place. And let's talk a little bit about that.
I mean, my connection is that my grandparents came from Albania, so I'm half Albanian. And it's interesting because, so I was raised in the Northeast, and where a lot of Albanians immigrated to. So, so my grandparents were born in Albania, and I grew up in the Northeast in a little bit of an Albanian community. So my relatives, of course, were Albanian. My mother was Albanian. So I'm half Albanian. However, Albania was, for 50 years, like North Korea is today. So it was completely isolated. So when my grandparents left, no one could ever go back. So I grew up with being half Albanian, but never being able to access the country, never being able to see the place that was talked to me about when I was a kid, was spoken about when I was a kid. So it was always this mythical place, and you could not get in. It was sealed tight. So we sent, the story I frequently tell is that we sent cards, letters, money, everything in. Of course, I didn't do it for 50 years, but for 50 years, my family members sent things back to their relatives who they could not see, and we never got any response, nothing. So because it was a totalitarian dictatorship, they couldn't send anything out. When I first went, not the first minute. Albania was the last country to fall. So most were 1989. Albania was 91. And I went in the early spring of 93. So I went pretty as quickly as I could get there. And then when I met my family, extended family for the first time, all the cards and letters and pictures we'd sent over the years were framed and hanging on the wall.
God, that is just unbelievable.
It was extraordinary. And we looked alike, of course, and it was a place that I found so captivating. And of course, because I couldn't get to it for 50 years, it was a land that could not be accessed. So
Sure.
as a kid, I wanted to know more about it, which has led now into a nearly 30-year, expedition. So I go back very frequently and know the country really well.
You just came back, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I spent the month of October there working on a totally separate project.
And how are things on the street in Albania right now?
They're good. What's happening is, as even from 2019 when you were there, it's really changing. I'm seeing it just transform, which in a way is wonderful because it's a country that could use an injection of help, financial help, tourism. It's a really extraordinary place because it's very small. It's still not well known. As you said, people are thinking Armenia, Azerbaijan, where they don't have any idea where it is, which is a good thing and not such a good thing. So it's great because it's kept them pristine.
Yeah.
Although now, the landscape is pristine. It's gorgeous waterfalls, beautiful rivers, wild rivers, incredible mountain scenery. It really 2 UNESCO heritage cities. It's really got a great mix. And Tirana, the capital, is really growing. It's exploding. So it's a cool city. It's like the city of cool, new and cool.
And so now is really the time because the transition is in full effect.
Full effect.
And that's what it felt like to me. It felt like in 2019 that someone had opened the front door, but nobody had gone inside or outside to in any great volume. And it just felt like, wow, it's a country that's still almost trying to self-identify and say, wow, we kind of, I guess it's that thing. If you've been under lock and key for 50 years and someone opens the front door, there's that moment of hesitation, like, am I supposed to go through there? And do I actually want to go through there? And what happens when I go through there? So that was one of the fascinating things for me, was like looking at that. And I was completely naive, although it just reminded me, I did read a book in college, and I can't remember the title of it, but it was about the 5 remaining countries on Earth that were like completely off the map. And I remember, North Korea was the obvious one, but I remember looking at Albania and thinking, I just don't know. I literally know nothing about this. And then I've seen a lot of people confuse the Baltics and the Balkans, where that's sort of interchangeably tossed around.
Yes, that's true.
And so for me, it's to revisit in 2022 after being there in 2019. For me, that's always been my style of work, is go back to the same place over and over again. I'm not one of these, I count countries and I'm going to cross the border for 20 minutes and be able to tell people I went to El Salvador. It's like, if I want to go to El Salvador, I want to go back and back. So I'm very curious the changes, even in a place like, I can imagine the hotel that we stayed in, Tirana, in that immediate area. What's the name of the pyramid building?
It's called the Pyramid.
Okay. I went to public school. I nailed that. And that was like, when we saw it in 2019, it was abandoned. It was like a ruin.
Right. So it's a ruin, and it's kind of the national symbol of the country in a way. So the pyramid was built by the former dictator. His name was Enver Hoxha, by his daughter, who is an architect. And it's a building that, if you look at it from the sky, is shaped like a communist star.
Ooh, interesting.
So it's called the pyramid because each point of the star is an incline, what's the word? It's a
slope.
A slope. And so it's built around the building is 5 slopes. And so it resembles from each vantage point a pyramid. And for many, many, many years, Albanians, certainly they didn't do it when he was alive, but when Hoxha died, kind of in as a rebellious move, people started to run up and down the sides of what was then granite building.
Okay.
So the building it was made in a beautiful granite, because Albania is full of natural resources and stone is one of them. So they built this incredible building called the Pyramid. Then they talked about destroying it. Should we get rid of it? Albania has a little bit of a problem of wanting to get rid of its past, really hide
Sure.
it. And so that's what's interesting about this moment in time.